class. Today for math, we're going to talk about factors quickly, briefly. Maybe call that more of a refresher on factors. Refresher on factors. And then we're going to take a look at multiples. Then we're going to look at how to find greatest common factor and least common multiples. So remember, a factor is a number, or the two numbers you multiply together to get a product. So, 3 times 6 equals 18. 3 and 6 are the factors. And we talked about prime and composite numbers, where prime is a prime number is a number that only has 1 and itself as a factor. So for instance, the number 3. 1 times 3 equals 3. The only way you can multiply, only numbers you can multiply to get the number 3 are 1 and 3. There are no other numbers. Therefore, 3 is a prime number. But we also have composite numbers, something like the number, for instance, 18 here, because we can do 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18 are all factors of 18. So it is composite. It has more than 2 factors. It's a pretty easy concept, and I think you guys are getting that a lot. So today I want to talk about multiples. And multiples are different than factors in one very, very simple way. It's basically just skip counting. A multiple is a number that is the product of a given number, such as 7 and some other number. So if I give you 7, you need to tell me what the multiples of 7 are. The multiples of 7 are 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, and 49. I'm just going to stop right there. A multiple is a number that is the product of a given number. In this case, I chose 7, and some other number. And these are all multiples of 7. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the first 7 multiples of the number 7. Okay? And that is because, look, 7 times 1 equals 7. 7 times 2 equals 14. 7 times 3 equals 21. 7 times 4 equals 28. 7 times 5 equals 35. 7 times 6 equals 42. There's my back like that. And 7 times 7 equals 49. So it's just skip counting. If I ask you for the first 5 multiples of a number, you're going to just skip count by that number 5 times. Oops. So if I say multiple of, I'm going to say give me the first 7 multiples of 3. So you're basically just gonna go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Now it's true that 3 times 7 is 21, but I want all of the multiples that of the first 7 multiples. Okay? I'm going to ask you for the first, you're going to have an assignment, and I'm going to ask you for the first 6 multiples of the number 4, or the first 6 multiples of the number 10, something like that. And you're just going to say the first 6 multiples. You're going to skip count by that number. The first 7 multiples of 3. Skip count by 3 7 times. If I say the first 6 multiples of 5, what am I going to do here? Well, the number 5 is the number given. I need to find 6 multiples. I need to list 6 multiples. So I skip count by 5 6 times. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I'm not asking you to multiply 5 times 6. I want you to start with that number and then give me the 6 first multiples. Literally, it's not a super difficult thing. You just have to know how to skip count and quickly add those numbers up, right? So one thing that we are going to look at as well are the greatest common factors and the least common multiples of numbers. If I ask you what common means, what does it mean? What does it mean to have something in common? It's the same, right? And if I say the least common multiple, am I asking for the biggest number or the smallest number? Well, least means small. If I'm asking for the greatest, what am I asking for? The biggest. So if I take a number such as 18, written as GCF. This is greatest common factor. Greatest common factor. What is the biggest factor both numbers have in common? You're going to be asked to do this a lot as you go forward, guys. It's the biggest factor both numbers have in common. Numbers have in common. Okay. So you're going to be looking at the factors for a number, for 2 numbers, and you're going to find which one is the biggest one they have in common. So what do they have that's the same? Let's look at the number 18 numbers, 18 and 9, okay? It's going to look like this. There's 18, and let's do 9. What are all the factors of the number 18? 1 times 2, 9 times 2. Is there anything else that's a factor of 18? 2, oh, 3 and 6. So then I'll write it down here in 1, 2, 3, 6, 9. Okay, what are all the factors of 9? What can I multiply to get 9? 1 times 9, 2 times nothing equals 9, 3 times 3, nothing else times anything else equals 9 besides these numbers. So 1, 3, 9. Okay. What's the greatest common factor? What do they have in common? Use blue here, by the way. Oh, they both have 1 in common, right? Well, I see they both have 3 in common. Okay. And I see they both have 9 in common. Well, they have 3 numbers in common. What's the greatest common factor? The greatest means the biggest. 9. 9 is the biggest number they have in common, right? Nine is the greatest common factor. You're right, GCF equals 9. Because yes, they have 1 and 1 and 3 and 3 in common. But those are the biggest number they have in common. The greatest number they have in common is 9. Let's do one more. Let's do 16 and 20. Now, I know my multiplication facts pretty well. I'm a teacher, so I have to. So I could go through and list all the factors just off the top of my head. But I'm going to write the number sentences, and then I'm going to separate them into an order list of the factors, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So what numbers do I multiply together to get 16? 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 3 times nothing equals that, 4 times 4, anything else? 5, no, 6, no, 7, no, 8, we already have 8 up there, 9, 10, no. Okay, so the factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. And you notice how I write them from smallest to greatest, or least to greatest there? Now, what about the factors of 20? What is the greatest common factor between 16 and 20? Well, 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3, no, 4 times 5, 6 times, no, 7, no, 8, no, 9, no, 10, we already have. Okay, well, list them in ascending order. 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20. Okay, what's the greatest common factor? Well, once again, I see they have 1 in common. I see they have 2 in common. I see they have 4 in common, and nothing else. All right, out of all the numbers that they have in common, what is the greatest one? 4, right? 4 is the greatest common factor. GCF equals 4. That is the greatest common factor. The second part of the video, we're going to look at least common multiple. But this is the important part right here, greatest common factor. All right? Stay tuned for the next part of this video where we're going to look at least common multiple. Hey guys. Okay, the second part of this video is a quick look at the least common multiple. And the least common multiple can be defined as the smallest multiple two numbers have in common. So remember, the first part of this video, we talked about multiples. And multiples are just skip counting, basically. When I give you a number, say, list me the first 10 multiples of 5, you're going to skip count by 5 10 times. But in this case, when we look for the least common multiple, it's also written as LCM, you're going to look for the smallest multiple two numbers have in common. Just like in greatest common factor, you factored out the numbers and you said, okay, these two numbers both have 10 as their greatest common factor. You're going to look at two numbers and find the smallest multiple they both have in common. So let's look for, I'm going to say LCM of 10, you know what, let's do, no, I don't know, what do I want to do here? 10 and 5, let's do 10 and 5. Yeah, least common multiple of 10 and 5. So I would just list like the first 10 factors, or 10 multiples. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. You know what, I'm gonna stop at 8. So there, I listed the 8 multiples of 10. And I skip count by 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Okay. I'm gonna do the same thing for 5. I'm just gonna do the first 8 multiples. Because you have to stop yourself, because multiples can go on forever. You could skip count by 10s until the day you die. You could skip count by 5s to the day you die. I just do the first 8 to 10, and then you can probably find it, the least common multiple in those numbers, in that number range. So I'm gonna do the first 8 multiples of the number 5. That means I'm skip counting by 5s 8 times. 5, 10, 50, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. I went to the 9. Okay. Now, the question is, what is the least common multiple? Remember, least is the smallest number. Right? Least means smallest. So, I mean, I see that 40, 30, 20, and 10 are all common numbers. These are all numbers that they have in common. Which one is the smallest, though? Which one is the least? What is the least common? 10, right? 10 is the least common multiple. It's the smallest number that they both have in common. And we're going to look at one more just to just get this practice in. Let's find the LCM of, let's see, let's do 8 and 3. So I'm going to skip count the first, let's say the first 10 for 8. Or the first 10 multiples of 8. So it'd be skip counting by 8 10 times. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, 80. Okay. Now I'm going to look for, I'm going to list the multiples of 3 and do the first 10 of those and see what I come up with. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Okay. What is the least common multiple? What is the multiple they have in common that is the smallest number? number 24. That's the only multiple they have in common out of the first 10. And I'm sure that if we went up by the first 100 multiples of 8 and 3, we'd find something more, but we're not doing that. So LCM equals 24. It's the least common multiple these two numbers have in common. Okay? All right, guys. So the activity associated with this lesson is you're going to be looking at greatest common factor, and you're going to be listing the multiples of some different numbers. Okay? If you need help, please email me. Let me know.